Hello, friends. I am Jocelyn. My last name is pronounced Pelagia. Don't worry about it. Just call me Jocelyn. I just wanted to kind of quickly, I do tend to talk a lot, so let's make it quick. I did want to go over the grading for this class because it's a little bit different from a traditional model of grading. The idea of using labor-based grading is that we are providing more equity in the classroom, which means we are trying to give every student who comes into this class an equal chance at earning the grade they hope to get. So with the traditional model of grading, there are some subjects, some discipline areas where you're kind of like, I'm not good at this. And you know from day one, that no matter how hard you try, how many hours you put in, you're probably going to be lucky to squeak through. I know that's how physics was for me when in college when I took it. I put in so much time. I went to the mentor groups and the special discussion sections and the let's do the homework together sections because I was like, I don't understand this stuff. What velocity and torque, they hurt my head. And no matter how hard I worked, I got the midterm back and I got a 54 on it because my brain just doesn't quite get that kind of stuff. So I know that this is true for a lot of students when it comes to a literature class where you're kind of I need these credits, or maybe you're vaguely interested in the subject matter, but you're in the class for whatever reasons. But you know that you're like, I could put in tons of time and I'm still probably not going to do great in this class. How about if we take a model of grading where you have control over how you do, where it's not so much that you come in with some skill in the subject area, or you are, you're like, I have a real aptitude for writing and for understanding things when I read them. So I'm, an A in this class is something I absolutely can go for, versus a lot of your classmates who are kind of like, I have to be here. I'm not really into this stuff. I don't really get what we're reading. Writing is not exactly my jam. So how can we level this playing field so that every person in here right now, you can go for the grade that you want, and it's based on the effort that you put in, not this elusive thing called quality, where sometimes you get a score and you're like, but why is it that score, lady? It's kind of why is it an 8 out of 10? I don't understand. So in this class, if you would like a C, if you're like, I am, you know what? C's get degrees. And if you're kind of like, I'm just here for the credits, about the subject matter, or could also be, I'm into it, but I don't have a ton of extra time. If you the baseline to get a C is you will read the stories each week. You will write one original post in response to one of the prompts that I have in the discussion folders. Your original post will be a minimum of 300 words long. It will contain textual evidence from the story. That sounds fancy. What I really mean by that is you grab quotes that illustrate what you're saying. So you can't just type, I think this, I think this, I think this, but never actually tie it to what the author put on the page in the story. So you have to address the text. You have to say, okay, and here is where we can see it happening in the story. So you bring in quotes that illustrate and support the points you're making. So you write one original post, minimum of 300 words. Feel free to go beyond that, my overachieving friends. And then you will write one reply to a classmate, at least 150 words in length. Both posts will be done before the Sunday deadline of 10 p.m. Not midnight like a lot of online classes, 10 p.m. The reason for this is I am a night owl and I will be on my computer at 10 p.m. on Sunday night grading stuff, trying to get it done. Regular, normal teacher people will get up on a Monday morning and start doing the grading because they're asleep. So we have a slightly different deadline. So if you want the C in this class, you do one original discussion post, one reply to a classmate, not two like in some classes, one. And if you do those things, plus at the end of the semester during final exam week, we have a final reflections prompt that everyone will respond to. Do your final reflections. So you've done the discussion posts every week, done your final reflections, you get a C. You straight up get a C for that effort. If, however, you are kind of I'm a little GPA obsessed and I would like to get the highest grade I can in this class, you are in control of doing a little bit of extra labor to get a B or to get an A. There are documents in the class that explain this, but If you're going for the B or the A, you will click into the document that explains the additional labor for getting an A or B in this class. And it lays out for you some choices. So you have choices. And they are a little bit more maybe creative than just writing discussion posts each week. And I think that, by doing them, you're going to learn things and explore thinking that enhances and supplements what you're getting from reading the stories. So you get to choose off of a list. Basically, you can do some personal writing about immigration if you have any experience, or maybe you know someone who's an immigrant, you could interview them. You can do some research writing where you choose, you have, again, on the document I give you ideas, where you choose something, research it, and rewrite what you learned from your research. You can listen to some podcast episodes and then you kind of summarize what you learned in the podcast episode, or you can watch some TED Talks. So there's links to all the choices. There's explanations in the document. It's on the content page under introductory information, probably near where I put this video I'm making right now. So if you want a B in the class, you will complete 2 additional pieces of writing chosen out of that document. So maybe you'll listen to a podcast and you'll write, the summary of that. Maybe you have some personal experience with immigration, you'll write something for that. That would be due at the end of week 3. One of them would be due at the end of week 9. The other one would be due. And those due dates will also be flagged for you in the class everywhere. If you want an A in this class, you would choose 4 things off of that list. And so and the thing is, if you're I'm a podcast person, all four of your additional extra things could be you listening to different podcast episodes. So you would listen to 4 podcast episodes and write summaries and thoughts and reactions to the episodes you choose. Or maybe you're I'm going to do one bit of personal reflection. I'm going to do one that's a research thing. I'm going to do one podcast. And I'm going to do one TED Talk. So if you are doing the additional labor for an A, you would have the first one due at the end of week 3, just like the people going for a B. Then you'd have one due at the end of week 6, week 9, and week 12. So basically every 3 weeks throughout the semester, you would submit into assignments, you would turn in a document you have written. So in summary, if you are going for a C in the class, you're pretty much doing the weekly discussion posts. At the end of the semester, you do the final reflections. If you're going for a B in the class, you do the weekly discussion posts. At the end of the semester, you do the final reflections. And at 2 times during the semester, you submit an extra piece of writing that you've done. If you are going for an A in the class, you do the weekly discussion posts, you do the final reflections, and 4 times throughout the semester, you submit the additional writing that you are doing. So keep that in mind, that your grade is in your power. And also, if you're someone where that the semester heats up, it gets out of control, it gets wild, or you're I have time right now, and I can see that in the next few months I have all these other things going on, but I want the A, you are welcome in the first week of class to do all 4 additional pieces of writing and turn them in right off the bat. You don't have to wait. So if you're I want to bang this stuff out, you could turn them all in the first week or the second week or whenever, and then all you have to do for the rest of the semester are those weekly discussion posts. Okay, that's a lot of talk. I'm going to say bye now. Let me know if you have questions.